Every week we visit with our good friend Gaylon Peterson from Decked Outside. We head over to the Wood Harbor Kitchen and we just show you what he has cooked that weekend. Last week he cooked, look at this, last week he cooked something that was just absolutely delectable. Look at that. Does that look good?
Yeah.
Oh, Gaylon's going to show you what he did to make that piece of meat. You might be surprised what piece of meat that is right now as we head over to the Wood Harbor Kitchen with Gaylon Peterson. Great stuff here, and the aroma from this food is incredible. The vegetables alone are great, but just want to say it, this is enough.
It just never gets old.
Never gets old, doesn't it? Yeah. But anyway, what are we creating here today?
Well, we cooked a couple of steaks, the same steak, prepared the same way, but a little bit different than what we usually do. We usually slice it and let you taste it and see what you think. This morning I cooked two because I wanted you to taste it beforehand so we can talk about it. So when I cut a little bit and brought it to you, what'd you think?
Well, you saw Jason had the plate over near his where he sits at the desk, and we're trying to guess what cut of meat it was because it was so tender, and we're guessing tri-tip and different things like that because it really did come out very tender.
Well, and you know, let's face it, beef is expensive, and we're fortunate to be in the best beef state, I think, probably in the world, in Iowa. Because we get to eat fantastic beef almost every day, but it's expensive, and so for people's budget now they kind of have to, you know,
watch what you buy.
Watch what you buy, and this is one of the least expensive beef cuts that you can buy, and if you cook it right, as you experienced, hopefully you can make it just absolutely tender and delicious. It's a cut that oftentimes people think of as being very tough, and it can be.
And what cut are we talking about?
It's top round steak.
Top round.
Yep. And the round is one of those primal cuts that we talk about once in a while, and you get three different segments off of that primal cut. You get the top round, you get the eye of round, the middle, very lean, and that's another benefit, quite frankly, to this steak, is it is a very, very lean cut of beef, and then you get the bottom round, which would be it's usually Swiss steak stuff that you want to do in the crock pot, if you will, and a lot of chefs will prepare it whole as roast beef. Okay.
Got it. Okay.
So
this is top round.
Top round. So what we started out with was a very thick top round, and you want it to be thick, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I marinated overnight, put it in a molasses-based marinade.
Molasses and what?
Molasses, a little garlic, some soy sauce, a little bit of oil, and just some other various spices put in there just to give it a little bit of flavor. But what we're trying to do with the marinade, and sometimes you hear you want to pierce the meat to let the marinade.
There's devices. We have one that it's a machine. You hit it and it has like tongs that go in there.
I will know if you did that. I will come and hunt you down.
Really?
No, don't do that.
All right.
Don't do that. Just put put it in a bag and marinate it overnight. And we don't want any of those great beef flavors to escape. We want to inject.
I thought you were letting them in if you put holes in there.
No. You're letting the juices escape, and we don't want that. And then the beef becomes dry and tough and inedible. So we don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to marinate it to give it a little bit of extra flavor. But as you can see, and we'll cut this other one too, but as you can see, you want that caramelization. And the way that we achieve that is with very, very high heat on the grill.
What temperature are you talking?
Well, so we cooked this morning on the Sabre grill, and Sabre, as I've talked about before, gets much hotter than almost any other gas grill out there that I know of that I've ever seen, and so this is. We'll see how you're feeling this morning.
There you go. Hit my hand.
All right. Yeah, we're 87.8 degrees.
Okay, I'm cold-blooded.
Okay, you're cold-blooded. Yeah. So I used my infrared thermometer, and we had it at 700 degrees.
700?
700
Now, a typical box store grill, you're lucky if you get it up to 450, maybe 475.
Yeah, that really would be good if you got it to that temperature. Yeah. Exactly. So we want very high heat to give that caramelization and sear in all of those juices. That's why we don't want to pierce disperse it when we marinate. We want to seal in those juices and make it just really tender.
Now, why do these look so different
juicy.
here? Can you see that, guys?
Well, it's just two different cuts, and you know, full disclosure, this was the Peterson family meal last night, and I just warmed it up again this morning on the grill. And this one I did.
And they're both the same.
They're both the same. It's both top round cut, and they're just different strips. So first of all, we'll just cut into this and see how we do. And this one is actually just a little bit more medium well.
That's good.
Than what the other one is. But when you're slicing a cut of meat like this, you want to cut it across the grain. You can see the direction that the grain is running, and you want to cut it across and a little bit on the bias. And then we're going to cut it kind of thin because we want it to be that delicious, juicy, tender. But you see all those juices coming out of there?
The clear juices, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want. We want it to just
Now, what temperature are you cooking these to? Because I'm sure you have a meat thermometer, which you have right here.
You have to have a meat thermometer so you kind of know what you're doing, because you can't tell, obviously, what you're going to end up with. So I took that this morning to 120 degrees, okay, and then let it rest, wrapped it up in foil, and brought it into the studio here.
120.
120.
Not 150.
No, way too.
I've never heard 120
120
before.
because it's going to continue to cook, because now we have seared that piece of meat, and it's going to continue to cook.
Now, wrapping it in the foil, that's a nice trick that a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah, and I usually wrap it up in a towel too, just to retain
the heat
that heat. And what it's doing is it's allowing those juices to all redistribute again through the piece of meat. Okay, so at the same time, I said we're going to do a complete meal today. So at the same time that we were doing the steak, I used my frog mats because vegetables can stick to that hot grate, and if you've ever tried to cook a tomato on a grill, it doesn't work like that. But work very good.
We got to wrap things up here a little bit, but here's the frog mat. You can see, and Gaylon, I think you're the only guy that I know that has these. And this, if you know anybody that grills, that is
yeah, it really works well. So we just did a few grilled vegetables, and you got a complete meal. Very simple and easy to do, and relatively inexpensive. $5.99.
Hi, Jason. How are you, Parker?
I'm well.
Good.
And obviously I tested this before the segment, but it's so good, and it's amazing that it cooks so fast.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Try the veggies.
20 minutes. 10 minutes per side. Very thick cut of steak. And if you don't like it that rare, we understand. That's the way I like my beef. But just cook it a little bit longer. It's okay. Take it.
But you said 120 degrees.
120 degrees.
I know a lot of people watching are cooking to 140 and then taking it off and letting it rest. That's too hot.
It's too hot, and frankly, the steaks have come out tough.
Okay, that's exactly what happens too. So we learned something here today too. Perfect. Now, if people want to stop by your place and learn other things like how to get themselves a Sabre grill, where do they go? 4033 Northwest Urbandale Drive, decked outside. Come see us. We'll talk about cooking, and it's one of our favorite subjects. Perfect. Well.